years of what some have called education reform have actually done. Okay? And then I want to look at systems, career pathway systems, call them programs of study if you want to use the official language. And I want to talk about programming and then pedagogy. Those are the three components that we need to think about in your Perkins planning, but also in actually delivering career technical education. I'm going to share a lot of data, and the reason I do this is because we make a lot of assumptions about things. And there are almost always data out there that you can use to test those assumptions. Now, I'm a researcher. This is what I do. And when somebody says, we should do this because some guy wrote a book and says we ought to do it, I go, okay, where's the evidence? And there's almost always at least some evidence that would help us understand, would this actually do anything? And would it do anything in our community? Because education is local. Context matters. If I've learned nothing in more than 30 years of research, is that context matters. So, if your assumptions are wrong, then it's very likely whatever solution you come up with is also going to be wrong. So I'm going to do four things here. I want to take a look at the labor market. I want to look at back, as I said, 30 years or so, and to take a peek at some of the things we know about career and technical education in terms of what it does, and then take a look at the system. Now, in doing this, some of the data I will share with you are contested. That is to say that we're dealing with imprecise things. It isn't like weighing something where there's an agreed upon metric. So there are others who will present different pictures of what's going on out there. And where this shows up, I'll try to be honest with you because I think it's important. But in thinking about data, I always have to start with a caution. Now, you may not know this, maybe you do, but the Japanese have very little fat in their diet. They suffer fewer heart attacks than either people from Britain or the United States. Mexicans, on the other hand, eat in the restaurants, tend to have a lot of fat in the diet, but they too suffer fewer heart attacks than either Brits or Americans. Japanese, as we said, suffer fewer heart attacks. They drink little red wine. Italians, on the other hand, are really fond of their red wine. But all these groups have fewer heart attacks than either Brits or Americans. Germans will eat anything on the plate, moving or not, as long as there's sufficient beer. Ein Bier. So, conclusion, you can eat and drink anything you like. It's clear that speaking English is what's going to kill you. By the way, those are all true statements. You can check our font of wisdom today, Wikipedia. Go to it. It's replaced libraries and like books. But what I'm trying to point out here is that correlation is not causality. And in education research, we have a lot of correlations. We say, oh, we did more of this, and look, good things happened. What often is the case is there's a third unmeasured variable that's actually affecting both. And if we don't know what that is, we're likely to say, this is great, let's do it. The most classic example of that is the Tennessee Star study done back in the last millennium, literally, that said, you know what, small class size matters. California took that and said, all right, we'll pour more than $1 billion into reducing class size. And guess what they got for it? Nada. Zippo. Nothing. For a variety of reasons, but not the least of which is they must not have really read the report and understand how and under what conditions reducing class size affects achievement. So, let's take a look at the labor market. So, I want you to, for just a second, if the education system didn't exist and you could reinvent it, imagine what you would do. But more than that, imagine who you would be doing it for. Okay? Just picture this person in your mind. So I'm a researcher. I look at data. I love data. Numbers. So when I was in high school, I was president of the chess club. I was also president of the science club. My wife, who's very candid, says, oh, you were a double nerd. I wear a cape. So when I think about the future, this is what I think about. This is Liam on the left and Aaron on the right. These are two grandsons of mine that I'm raising at the moment, which is testimony to that bumper sticker wisdom, karma's a bitch. I screwed up the previous generation, like I'm going to do better now. So the little lad on the left, they're bigger now, by the way. This is such a cute picture, I can't stop using it. Little Aaron, we call literally Little Nerd Boy, and he wears it as a badge of honor. When they first moved in, they were in first and second grade. And when they came home from school the first day, the new school, I said, I live in Louisville where there's actually Central Park, built by the same guy that built the New York Central Park. And I said, let's go in the park and let's go on the swings, let's play. Liam, the older boy, oh yeah, let's go. Little Aaron started to cry. I said, what's the matter? He says, I gotta do my homework. There's a genetic flaw in that child. So, Liam loves to take stuff apart. My computers, my televisions, anything that can be taken apart. I'd come home and there were parts on the board. They saw something. They built a robot. I gave them some old computers they could play with. So I came home one day. They had a cardboard box and they had masking taped parts of computers on this box. And they had that little dongle that comes off of the hard drive that plugs into the motherboard. And they were trying to figure out where to plug it to get power. Going, yes, that's exactly. Hey, Granddad, where do we stick this? I'm going, oh, in your ear. Point is this. Two kids, same gene pool, entirely different ways of thinking about learning, ways in which they like to learn, ways in which they will learn. And yet we design public education as if every little widget was exactly the same. And they're age graded. How stupid is that? Everything we know about developmental, the development of young people says, just because you're 6 years old doesn't mean you're all here. Some are here, some are there, some are there. But, the factory model worked well in the late 19th, early 20th century, so we just love it. So I think about these guys, class of 20 and 2021, but I also know this about them, is that they're going to be competing not against kids in Tennessee, not against kids in Missouri, Indiana, Ohio, Illinois. They're going to be competing against kids in Asia, Southeast Asia, Africa, South America. This is a global economy. It's a very flat world, according to Thomas Friedman. So we have to think globally. And as we think globally, where's the best career and technical education? By the way, everywhere else in the world, they call it vocational education, just so you know, or TVET, technical vocational education. I travel a bit overseas when I give presentations. First half of it is explaining what career and technical education is. They go, well, yeah, TVET, what's that? CTE? Anyway, this is the context. So let's take a look at our current labor market understanding. I'll give you three perspectives, okay, that I define as worse, worser, and OMG. Now, you all know what OMG, right? It's all you twits out there, right? It means, I don't know, OMG. So, BLS, first perspective, your tax dollars at work. When you look, they give you all kinds of data, but the two most people look at is largest growth and fastest growth jobs. And what's instructive about this is when you look at the largest growth, those are the ones that generate the most net new employment. You see the list there. They're predicting. They're forecasting. So you see registered nurse, retail sales, home health aide, personal care aide, office clerks. You have to go down to 10 and 15 before you find any college 4-year or more requirements. When you look at fastest growth, this is the denominator problem. That's the percentage growth. You still find mostly interesting data. By the way, biomedical engineers got a 63% growth rate. But total number we need over the next decade, less than 10,000. In a labor market that in a decade from now is going to be about 160 to 165 million. So it's 0.00000 something. Not much STEMmy stuff there, by the way. Look at New Mexico. These are from some internal data. You all have access to this. If you don't, I can provide it. Your biggies are construction, retail, professionals, scientific management, well, actually not so much. Education services, healthcare, that's a biggie. And government, as we say back in Virginia, government. G-U-B-M-I-T, government. So that's one perspective. Let me share perspective number two. As an outfit